Bantucentric is recommended for listeners over the age of 16 as it may contain foul language and/or mature subject matter. This podcast is brought to you by Gifted Sounds Network and ImagineOnly Productions.
And as always, stay woke.
And stay Bantu.
And as always, 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 stay woke.
And stay Bantu. And stay Bantu.
Welcome to Bantucentric. My name is Buck Rivers, and with me as always, my co-host, Cheyenne Finch.
We're a couple of Bantus discussing movies, music, relationships, and pretty much everything else.
Yes, and as always, pretty much everything else also means the Bantu Initiative. Basically, if your people originated from the continent of Africa, you're a Bantu. And so we'd like to kind of take that word and spread it around the country and make it into a household known. We'd like to take that word and we'd basically like to take that word and kind of spread it around the country and make it into a household known term. So yeah, if you're interested, please go to bantucentric.com/initiative for more information.
Yes.
So, as we are still within the Black History Month, the month to celebrate niggas, Bantus, Black people, African people, diaspora. One of the things, as we talked about in our MLK episode, is that MLK and Malcolm X and Rosa Parks through association with MLK and some of these other people who either spoke or sat on buses for various reasons. Mm-hmm. A lot of our organization came from the church during the civil rights movement in particular. Even, during slavery times, church services were often, if at all, were the times that we were allowed to kind of have some privacy and talks amongst ourselves, if at all. Most of the time there was monitoring, but if we were able to, we would organize those things during church. So church has always kind of been a very, consistent part of the American Black experience. So my question to you is, what has been your experience as an American, as a Bantu, as somebody who's gone to church?
Well, I have a very interesting church background. I don't have the traditional Black family goes to church every Sunday background. I was born in New York, so during my early years living here, I remember going to church a few times. Not traditionally, not often, just a few times, maybe like Easter, things like that. Okay. And you're a kid. You kind of just, you go because you have to go, and then you go home, and it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Then when my mother and I moved to the West Coast, we watched a lot of church on TV. We never found a physical body to go to. Okay. We figured we could get the word just as fine in the house as we could.
Jakes.
Yeah, T.D. Jakes, Joel Osteen, Bishop Bronner, all of them. So that's how we did church for the past few years. When I moved back, I wanted to get back into going to a physical church. Okay. But as soon as I moved back, my first experience with the church I was going to go to is they were talking about my grandmother and assuming that she was very rich and that she could afford to do this, that, the other thing. Basically spreading very terrible rumors.
Wait, just to you or during
No, in
service?
The church. Not during service, but among
okay.
Among the congregation, everybody. Yeah. They were basically talking about my grandmother, talking about my family, and talking about our house, things like that. And that just wasn't a church I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah, for sure.
And I realized in that moment, though church is supposed to be a pure place, a peaceful place, we're all human, and a lot of stories I get from church is, she's sleeping with the pastor. It's always been a place of gossip and drama when it's supposed to be about the Word of God. Yeah. And I found I was closer to the Word of God watching it through TV. Okay. without the distractions of other people gossiping.
People, yeah.
So I figured I'd keep doing it that way. I have an app that gives me different scripture every day on my phone.
Okay.
I watch it through TV with my mother at home, and that's just how I get the word. That's how I learn. I follow different pages through social media that also do like preaching and things like that. I found that was the most peaceful way for me to get the message, so that I don't become a part of a social group that's really just here to gossip.
You were gonna say
like,
part of a statistic. No. I was like, yo.
And then there are people that come to church to find a man, people that come to church to show off their new outfit, and it's really just, you're not here for God.
Big ass hat.
And I'm like, I really just, if I'm gonna go to church, it has to be for the message.
That's true.
So
that's true.
I don't go to a physical church.
So you're gonna burn.
Oh.
Is what you've said.
Oh.
Cheyenne's gonna burn.
Well.
Join us next week to see if she does. Because you'll definitely be dead
next
by
time
then.
on Dragon Ball Z.
But yeah, I agree. I haven't been going lately. It hasn't been conscious. I think that's the one thing, is that I guess during college not going, I felt a pressure that I should have been going, you know. But especially during college, I feel like I needed a church home still, you know, and I would like one, but I don't know, for a while there, church was kind of my peace, you know. It was the black family that I never really knew growing up, you know, and so it was easier to go to a new place and make that family and then be able to see those people every week and kind of have a pick-me-up, you know. Mm-hmm. During college, there were a lot of times where I was, you know, literally crying up the steps, up the hill to church, and then I'd be in a better mood on my way down, you know, that I really got to pick me up from dwelling in the house of God and talking to these people and that sort of thing. And I really feel like I needed that in college, especially, you know, I'm dating a white person, so I'm not getting, you know, I needed Jesus. I was dating a white person who didn't understand the issues within the community, so I need to be around some black people. I'm not saying that dating white people is of the devil. We're not hoteps. Shai's a hotep, but
hertep.
Yeah, she's a hertep.
See.
But yeah, for me, it's always been very much that part of it, the family part of it, you know. And so as much as I see the issues and I see the gossip and all of those things, that's always stood out more so to me. So when people do talk about, like, you know, fuck the church, you know, it's kind of like, just because I personally have experienced very little of the painful side of things. You know, my mother has, and that's why we were changing churches constantly growing up, you know. Mm-hmm. Other people I know definitely have. Me personally, growing up, I was a cute, smart kid who got hugged by a bunch of nice ladies. Like, that's what it was. That's what church. Yeah, that's what church was going and having a bunch of aunties that I didn't know, that weren't in my family, you know. And so I try my best, and when I have kids, I feel like it'll be important. I feel like I want to take them and have a church home for them once I have kids. You know, I feel like raising them in the church in a similar way is going to become suddenly very, very important, you know, mm-hmm. as it does for most people. And so I see myself really going back and devoting that time then. But yeah, I feel like that's the purpose, is that it's supposed to be a community of people who believe the same things and are out to support you because of that shared belief. Just as you might go to a meetup group and you're all fans of Marvel movies, like, you're going to a place because you're all fans of God. When you go to that meetup group, I don't think it's so important that you spend time gossiping about other members of the group, you know. Yeah. But we've taken what was meant to be the Jesus fan club and turned it into whose hat looks prettier, and that's stupid. That's just really dumb, you know. Yeah. But I think that, I don't know, I've heard it that black people, we're not, a lot of us aren't much outside of the church, you know. And so it's not a justification, but I can kind of see how on Sunday morning you get dressed up and you're Deacon so-and-so, whereas every other day you're the janitor at wherever, you know? So you're really nothing, and the cops don't treat you right. White people don't treat you right. Maybe your husband or your wife doesn't treat you right. But in the church, you are something, you know, and that's not really the place, but I see its utility in a lot of Black people's lives, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, my brother's just recently become a deacon.
Okay.
And I can definitely see it's like kind of changed him in a way where it's like matured him.
Okay.
He seems to be a little stronger in his beliefs and his values and like what he stands on. And he's just grown up a lot since pursuing that road.
Yeah.
And it's definitely been a great change for him. It's like not just in the church but outside the church.
Okay.
Like I can see the man that he's becoming.
Yeah.
And it's definitely been a great experience for him.
Okay.
And I can tell he really enjoys it. So I definitely think it's really good for some people when they join the church, like especially when they can do it purely off of passion and faith, and it doesn't come with the drama and everything like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like they're doing what they love. They're doing what they believe in.
Okay. That's true. But yeah, guys, I think that speaking of doing what you believe in, that you guys should, one, listen to our plugs. And you should go on patreon.com/Bantucentric and support what you believe in, which is us. We need some money, guys. All of this, see this thing right here? This thing's very expensive. See these? Expensive. We've spent a lot of money on this. Rents have been delayed. Bills have been delayed. Accounts have been overdrawn.
I'm very risking homelessness at the moment.
Yes. And so basically, we'd like to ask if you could generously donate. But we're not asking for nothing. Basically, if you go onto patreon.com, you'll see we have a tier system, and you can go into those tiers, $5, $10, $15, and you'll get different sets of content for each tier. Like I said last week, working on some Bantu cinema stuff. Shai's working on some stuff. We've got friends working on stuff. Like, things are happening, guys. So if you want to be involved in that and you want to help fund awesome projects, please go on there, because there's some tiers that specifically one of the rewards of being in the tier is that we listen to your comments first and foremost. So you could suggest some shit, and that might be the thing that we see first, and that might be the thing that we start implementing. You know, if we've got the ability to do it and you're literally funding the project, I mean, why wouldn't we? You know, that kind of thing. So yeah, please go to patreon.com/Bantucentric and support us there. Also, TeePublic. Also, right there on our website, if you want to just send a one-time donation, you can do that there too. You got some plugs?
As always, I'm still a photographer. So if you have any events or anything that you want covered, if you're hosting something or you want to go somewhere and do like headshots or landscape, anything like that, I can help you with that. So my rates are pretty affordable. You can email me at CheyenneFinch@gmail.com, where I can discuss rates with you and we can talk time, place, date, all of that. So yeah.
All right, cool. I personally am still doing freelance writing, doing a lot of drafting right now. Basically what I do is that there are, I don't know, writing your first draft is usually the hardest part of whatever process that you're doing. And so I will write that first draft for you based on your outline, and it stays your own. And so that can be yours, and you can edit it on your own and turn it into whatever you want it to. Or I just do freelance writing, regular writer's fees, giving the credit to me because I've wrote the thing, and we can figure that out too. So I'm doing it all. That's what I'm saying. I'm also working on a novel right now. That's definitely going to happen. Yes. So this one's been waiting for pages. I'm gonna give you some pages. But yeah, so I do a lot of freelance writing. Please hit me up if you're trying to do that. Also, I'm looking for like jobs with publishers and that kind of thing. You know, don't tell my current job. But I'm looking for jobs.
He announces this on YouTube.
Yes. If you know some publishers that are looking for like assistant editors and stuff, send them my way, guys. I'd like to get into the industry as a writer of some kind, whether it's for TV and movies, whether it's plays, whether it's novels, like whatever. I will do it. I've written it all, except for the plays. I haven't written any plays yet, but I'm going to write a play.
That's where you're slacking.
Yeah. Or no, I have written a play.
Okay.
I wrote The Lost Christmas Soul. and The Lost Soul. It wasn't Christmas time anymore when we redid it later on. It's just The Lost Soul. It had very little to do with Christmas, basically. And speaking of churches, basically I wrote this when I was like in 4th grade, maybe? And they put it on. But some of the people at the church were mad because we always do the regular nativity play every year. And in my play, there was a section of time where the main character goes to church. Basically, it's like dad dies in a car accident or something. So he turns from Christ, and then he goes to church and sees the nativity play. And that somehow convinces him to come back to the Christ. I don't know. You'd have to see some more plays to just fully make a major life paradigm shift like that. But I was a kid, so that was the first play. These people decided they were gonna squeeze in the entirety of a nativity play into my play. So my play happens. I'm playing the main character. I go sit down and then to watch this play at church, and they do the entire fucking 45-minute nativity play, and then I get my ass up and like, yeah, I've come back to Christ, blah, blah, blah. I don't know whose idea this fucking was. It was nuts, but yeah, some churches sometimes ain't shit. So there's that, guys. So I have written plays. We remade it later on at a different church. We had to take our production elsewhere. Okay. It was just The Lost Soul because it was like summertime, but it went over a little bit better there. Okay. But you know, and I rewrote the script. So yes, if you guys want The Lost Soul, I'm shopping that around Broadway right now. I'm not
to the highest bidder.
I'm not doing that at all. But yeah, guys, if you need a freelance writer, I'm right here. Also, go to ImagineOnlyProductions.com. Check out the other stuff that ImagineOnly is doing. Opinions Only, YouTube channel. Should be making episodes. Haven't, but hopefully we'll have some episodes. So yeah. Any other plugs?
Nope.
All right. I'm just going to stop this unceremoniously. Stop the presses because you guys are watching this right now on YouTube. But you know what you should be doing? Is listening.
After you watch us.
Yes, after you watch us. Is listening to the Bantu of the Day. I love that bass hit. Great. Today's Bantu of the Day is none other than Film Frequency. You're not gonna cheer for Film Frequency.
Woo!
Cheyenne doesn't support you guys as much as I do. But like I said, after you finish listening to Bantucentric or watching Bantucentric on YouTube, you should go to Film Frequency. And basically, our Bantus are CEO Hayes and JB, and they discuss film. And so the two guys, the Bantus, I'm sure one of them's Bantu. I'm not sure about the other one. Don't want to attribute anything to you if you're not. But Bantu organization, nonetheless, that does film. You know, similar to what Opinions Only is trying to do. Just film commentary and reviews, that kind of thing. What we do for Bantu Cinema. These guys are very smart. I like their videos, and they're up and coming just like we are. And so we wanted to, you know, give you guys a shout out and show how much we appreciate you. I think I met you guys through a Facebook following chain, you know, trying to find new shows. And I'll just tell you now, most of the time when you participate in those, you don't get quality stuff. You just follow a bunch of people hoping that they follow you back. But I followed you guys and watched some videos, and you guys are actually doing really good stuff. And so yeah, we wanted to shout you out for that.
Yes. What? You said it.
You're gonna embellish some stuff, make up some things. Definitely. Really low energy this episode.
I'm sorry. I'm so sleepy.
Shy doesn't support you.
I do.
Shy hates black people.
I swear to God, I'm gonna get a cup of coffee.
But yeah, guys, we would like to thank you both for all that you do, and we want to thank you for being Bantu.
You could have been anything, but you chose us, and we appreciate your business.
Yes. Let's fade that out. Hit the button. All of this is in the podcast.
All of it.
See, this is me explaining to you guys how to produce a show. Welcome to Producer-Centric. My name's Buck Rivers.
I had no idea we changed shows.
My name's Buck Rivers. Cheyenne's not the producer, so it's okay.
It's perfectly fine.
She's one of the editors. So
I don't need those responsibilities.
So, continuing on the church topic here. There are plenty of people in our community who have straight up said, one, Christianity is of the white man. Debatable. It's not true at all. Two, that it causes harm to our community kind of as a whole. And I guess I wanted to get your opinion on that in particular.
I don't believe Christianity causes harm to our community as a whole. I think certain types of Christianity, certain ways that people go about it, their beliefs can be harmful. As a Christian, I get pretty upset when people do things in the name of Christianity, like homophobia because God doesn't want us to be gay, or when like parents attack their children because, oh, you're not supposed to get pregnant and you're not married, or God wouldn't want it that way. Literally, Jesus said, love others the way, basically, I'm summarizing, but
Did he say that?
like, love thy neighbor, and it's basically the whole premise is like, treat others the way that you want to be treated, and also that judgment is up to God, it is not up to us. And too often, in the name of Christianity, we take judgment into our own hands.
That's true.
Which is very annoying. Like, it's been a tick for me since I was, like, a kid. Because I would see people claiming in the name of God to hate certain groups of people. And claiming to know what God would want. And literally, slavery was done in the name of God. True. Like, and it's like you're harming people. You're, God, why am I forgetting the word? You're just basically being against people, discriminating against people.
I was like, harming?
Attacking people. Like, everything is just wrong. And you're doing it because you feel that God told you to. And
even though he didn't put that shit in the book. Like, there was nothing about slavery. I mean, slaves obey your master, that
but not
kind of
the
thing.
American slavery.
In the context of way back when people had slaves, which was just servant. That's the word literally roots to the same thing. It just means one that serves another person. Didn't mean beat people's asses, rape them, and send them to different plantations and throw them into gator pits. That's not what it said. At all.
Yeah, it's just, I hate when people use Christianity as a way to facilitate their hate. And because that's not the religion at all. And I call myself a Christian because I believe it to be a religion of love. And I believe that, yes, the Bible does say some things about being gay. It says some things about marriage and kids, and it does say all these things. But at the end of the day, it says love thy neighbor, and it also says that judgment is up to God. It is not up to us. So I take from that I should be living my life. And I have no jurisdiction over how someone else lives theirs. So I'm going to be friends with whom I'm going to be friends with. I'm going to love whom I'm going to love. And I'm just going to move with love in my heart. And that is what Christianity is to me. And anybody that uses it to facilitate hate is not a Christian.
I agree. There's one thing is that, I don't know, lately I've been thinking about it in a very practical way. You know, I feel like a lot of people just kind of take the book and they're like, this is what it is, and this is everything. But if we are going to do that, then you have to take things word for word then, in this case. And very specifically, the New Testament states that Jesus' mission was to abolish the Old. You know, that's why it's the New Testament. And so it feels as though we possibly shouldn't be reading the Old at all as Christians, that it would just be the new. But we don't ever do that. We read both of these books, but Jesus specifically, if we're going to talk about it as like a narrative, you know, people that don't believe, then just don't listen to the episode or whatever, because I'm going to talk about this as things that actually occurred because I believe that they did. So that's where we're starting from. I'm not a person that doesn't believe in this stuff. So if that's I'm stupid and crazy, then I can't help that feeling, Yeah, I can't help that feeling because I get where people come from. If you were talking about horoscopes, I'd be kind of checked out, talking about them as if they're real. Because they're not real. And if you're just like you hypocrite, you believe in God, but you don't believe in horoscopes, yeah, I really don't. I do believe that it makes a little sense that everything that exists was created by a being. And I don't believe that looking up in the stars and the day that I was born, as opposed to upbringing and just genetics and just you got your personality from your mom because your mom created you. Nope, it's the month and day you were born. That's who you are.
And you know why you believe that? Yeah. Because you're a Taurus.
Anyway, when God created himself in the form of a man, he did so that he could understand how we are and how we act and how we think. And if you look at it as a narrative, feels like he started out, as most of us do, as people talk about when they have kids, that it's like you tell your kid to do something and they don't understand it and they do it a different way and you're baffled. You're like, what the fuck? Because it made so much sense to you. And so that might come off as anger, and it probably would if you had never been a kid yourself. But you think back about the shit that you've misunderstood and it probably just gives you a little bit of understanding there. You'd think your kid was just being belligerent if you could not reference times where you felt the same way. That's just how people work. Now imagine being a being that's never been a kid. So it's hard to then be like, this is what's going on. So I can understand a being just like that's basically playing The Sims, and when your Sims start doing shit that you don't want them to do, you lose your mind about it. Some of us go so far as to kill their Sims because they're not real and they don't feel real. And even if somehow they technically were, we wouldn't consider them to be real because they're just a program, But what are we but just a bunch of programmed beings running through the things that we were programmed to do by our parents, So if you think of it in that way, I could see it being a guy who's just experimenting with just making shit because he can. And these things aren't doing the things that he said he was supposed to do. And he looks down and it's like, I created a guy and I created a girl. And so this is the pairing. And then a couple more guys show up and all of them get together and start fucking. And it's like, wait a second, that's not what I intended. So don't do that. Doesn't mean I hate your ass and I'm gonna throw. But I don't understand why you would go to that, because that's not the purpose that I created you for. Hey, I flooded the earth once. Said I wasn't gonna do that again. I shouldn't get mad and kill up a bunch of people just because they're doing shit. Let me go down, try and figure out what the hubbub is about. And he goes down and he sees Dwayne Johnson and he's like, holy shit, I want to fuck that guy. But he doesn't, because he knows the rule that he made before, and was like, I'm not gonna, I won't fuck that guy, but I wish I could, because he's fucking Dwayne Johnson.
What Bible are you reading?
He's Dwayne Johnson. Look at him.
Is this the New Testament?
Or Dwayne, it's Dwayne Johnson's
the
great
updated Testament.
Great grandfather. It is just like, holy shit, look at that guy.
Version.
Exactly. But he sees this guy. He sees some drugs. He's like, that's really cool. I mean,
Is that how you do drugs?
I was trying to do the bong sound, you that like when you're like slurp.
Can you tell he's never done drugs?
Shut up. But he sees these different things. He sees some women. It's like, oh shit, I want to fuck them, but I don't want to go through the trouble of having to respect them. I'm kidding.
The trouble
I'm kidding.
of having to respect them.
I'm kidding. But he goes through those processes and sees that it was very difficult for himself to prevent himself from doing all of that shit, Then the dude gets painfully murdered. And while he's up there, he's like, you know what? Fuck all y'all. I hate you. I've got powers. I should strike all of you niggas down because why shouldn't I? But he chooses not to. This man, this being has become a man and understood the struggles and the temptation that it took to not do all of the shit. And it's like, all you gotta do is just believe I was here and you can come to heaven. Because that's literally what it says in the New Testament. So after doing all of that, you can go ahead and fuck some dudes because all you need to do is believe that I came down here. You can go ahead and have sex before marriage if you need to because all I want you doesn't mean that God still doesn't feel like, I kind of wish y'all wouldn't do the stuff that I didn't intend for you to do. Doesn't make homosexuality immoral. It's just not what the intended purpose was because, yeah, the intended purpose of the act of sex is to compel us to create more humans. Mm-hmm. And so if you do feel compelled to have sex with something you can't create another person with, that's not the intended plan. Doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It's just biologically that's not what the organs were invented for. The penis was invented for the vagina. That's just how it goes, that they're designed by evolution, by God, by whatever, for each other, you know? You're just different than the intended. This is what creates more people. That's not a moral play, you know, to then be like you're a bad person. That's outrageous. That's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. Playing video games isn't part of the intended plan. It doesn't help us survive. It doesn't do anything for anybody in society. It's just us sitting on our asses making ourselves feel good. That doesn't, you know, there's no point to it. That from a being that created something can see, I don't think that's what I planned for, but now I understand how fun it is to play games and how fun it is to fuck Dwayne Johnson. So I'm going to let you do it. Just believe that I'm who I am. That's where I'm coming from, is that if we're going to go word for word what it is, Jesus didn't say shit about homosexuality. He just didn't. He did not at any point in time. Same thing as he didn't say anything about eating lobster and pork. He didn't say anything about that. He didn't say anything about wearing different fabrics. But that hat over there, the tag on the back says that the inside is polyester and the outside is cotton. So I'm going to burn in hell because I'm wearing that hat. That's what's literally in the Old Testament. There's a lot of stuff that God didn't intend for, that Jesus experienced and understood that it's a little much to put that kind of pressure on people, and decided not to reiterate in the New Testament, which was supposed to abolish the guard. After he died, the tarp was torn down the middle in the church. He was tearing shit down. That was the whole point. So if you believe this book is this book, and you believe all this should happen, again, if you don't believe any of this and you're still here, I can't help you, you know, but if you're somebody who is believing all of this and then goes to church and does a whole sermon about how sagging pants is the reason why, clearly, no, sagging pants is not in the Bible, Pastor so-and-so, so why are there so many sermons about it? But yeah, that's where I'm coming from when it comes to this.
I definitely agree that things have changed over time.
Yeah.
If you look in the Bible, there's they talk about incest. Incest used to be okay. I mean, keep in mind at the beginning of time,
like step siblings.
No.
Oh.
Yeah. Something like just to get your attention. Incest used to be okay.
Why?
Because it was the beginning. It was the beginning of people.
Oh yeah.
And we didn't have much to do. Like there wasn't really anywhere to go.
Yeah.
You couldn't.
A lot of animals do that. I mean, brothers and sisters usually not, but as soon as you're a cousin, as soon as somebody else has birthed you, animals do it all the time because
they need to survive.
Yeah, you're just another female, or another male.
Yeah, like think about it. Like beginning of people, there's Adam and there's Eve.
Yeah.
What are they gonna do? Date? Like there isn't much to go off of. So for a long time, incest was okay at the beginning of time. Yeah. And then one day, God said, "Stop that. You don't have to anymore." Which is kind of weird because.
Wait, when did it say that? I don't remember that being actually in the Bible anyway.
It is. There's a story in there.
Oh, okay, about not fucking your siblings.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, where God's like, okay, stop. You don't have to be incestuous anymore. There's enough people here where we can kind of branch out.
Don't be that lazy that you got to go down the hall, go outside, get on Tinder.
But it's like things change over time according to the needs of the people or the ways of the people. And I think that honestly, I have a lot of questions about the Bible. I have a lot of questions about religion. I'm sure we all do. Those of us that don't study it fully, this is not the path that we have chosen. Like you are not a pastor. I am not a nun.
I'm a pastor.
We don't know.
I'm a secret pastor.
Secret.
Yeah, I went and got ordained.
Why does that sound like a really bad TV show?
Secret pastor. This week on ABC.
Freeform. Like
secret pastor.
But yeah, it's like we don't fully understand everything. Yeah. And that is why when I talk about Christianity, I always come from a place of love. Yeah. That's all it's ever been for me. And so many things have changed and been reiterated and been rewritten and misunderstood, and people have created their own versions, and then we've gone back to the original. Yeah. And it's like we've gone back and forth so many times, and everyone has so many different perceptions, and if you put a comma in the wrong place, the entire scripture is now a completely different meaning, and it's debatable. And it's like, honestly, at this point, does anyone really know what we're supposed to do? Yeah. Like, it's very confusing.
It's been rewritten so many times by a bunch of people that had agendas.
Yeah. At this point, I'm like, the only thing I am 100% sure about is it is not my job to judge anybody. Yeah. But it is my job to love those around me. Yeah. To love one another, to do everything in love. Yeah. And that is where I come from first and foremost, in love. And anybody that uses Christianity to fuel their hate-filled agenda, it's just not a Christian.
Yeah, and that's not what it was ever intended to be, specifically that it was spoken that way, you know? Mm-hmm. And that is why, kind of getting back to the original question, that's why I don't think it's a problem in our community. I think that individually, churches, you know, we need to check ourselves. We need to make sure we're doing the right things. You know, what is that? They were a past Bantu. It was like Revelation Church or Transformation Church. Transformation Church, great example. If you're looking for a church that's doing it right, Transformation Church, as far as I know, I don't know about the gossip and stuff, but as far as like an organization, they're doing it right. You know, they're black people, they're trying to do good, and they're not out here fucking around asking for a bunch of money for no reason. You know, you can see the receipts. You see the things that they're doing. They're taking the money and they're putting it back into the community, you know. I feel like that is a good example of what churches are supposed to be, and I feel like that's what we can be when we get together. I also feel like our lives are hard as fuck, and so the reason why I'm still a Christian is because of that sense of community, because of that sense of family, you know, that I talked about. I couldn't go through life being as clinically depressed as I am and be like, yes, none of this matters. I'm here because of an accident of two things out in space crashing into each other and popping, and now everything that's ever been created just happened to pop into existence perfectly as it does. Sorry guys, I know what people are thinking, but I don't understand why that makes more sense than there's just somebody that designed it that way, because it's just a little too perfect that it just happened by accident. Mm-hmm. It just seems like it's easier to believe that something I don't understand willed it into existence rather than it just oopsed into existence. Like, you know, I always say I've never dropped a bottle, like a jar of Skittles. I've never dropped a bag of Skittles.
Where do you buy your Skittles?
Never dropped a bag of Skittles and it just formed into a fucking universe. Like, you know, that's really how accidental that shit would have to be. That just, oh, there's life now? I don't know. I'm sorry, but your parents got together and created you, and there were processes within your mom's body.
She didn't like trip one day.
Yeah,
like,
and
baby.
You just came to, no, you were meticulously built within somebody's womb. This thing was meticulously built by some people. This thing was meticulously built and functions because it was designed to do that, you know? I think that our bodies, that you put some food in it and it goes in here and gets drowned into like gray mush and then goes and separates the enzymes into your body, and your blood pumps that oxygen and nutrients to every part of your body, and then shit comes out. I think that was designed. Sorry, but that just functions a little too well, just like when I type something in and press send, it goes into your phone. I feel like somebody created this, and I feel like somebody created me. Sorry.
One day someone dropped the battery and it just turned into a
and
phone.
Bloop. Oh, fuck. Awesome. You know, that logic doesn't work in anything else in our world except for us, except for our whole planet and universe. I don't know, guys.
But you know, like, everyone has their own beliefs.
Sure.
And
true. That's
they
true.
are allowed to have their own beliefs.
I guess.
And just like we ask people to respect ours, we should respect theirs.
Yes, I respect other people's beliefs. I'm kidding. Allegedly. I respect.
Allegedly.
I'm just going to keep that up. Episode. Past episode joke, guys. But yes, I respect other people's beliefs. That's why I talk about it these ways, is that I feel like I'm a person that asks a lot of questions, and so I want people to ask questions, and the answers that seem to make the most sense to me are that we were created by something. It feels like a very logical thing. So I'm not against people that are interested in science and interested in asking questions and getting real answers that seem to make sense. That's what it's about. And I'm definitely not about Christians who are like, well, it's just there. Oh, dinosaur bones are a trick of the devil. Okay, guys, that's a stretch. Like, why? What? The trick of the devil? It made a bunch of dinosaurs. What? They were dinosaurs. The Earth is old. Be real
petty.
Yeah.
And bored.
Why? Like a bunch of big dragon things. That's just really stupid. Yeah, it's really stupid. But I think that Black people, I think that having a belief that your life matters and that something is that it's worth it is important, and I think that despite what people like to say, that somehow one of the most popular religions on the face of the planet Earth was just completely unknown to the entire continent of Africa by 1619. I'm sorry, but I kind of feel like we knew what Christ was before we were taken and brought here. But yeah, the white man was our first introduction to Jesus, even though we're right adjacent to the Middle East, and we just ate it up because they told us to and beat it into us. And so anybody that still worships Jesus is just a slave to the white man, worshiping a white man who was from the Middle East, I guess. But, I think that we need something to believe in as a people. And I feel like believing that there is a plan and that there's a methodology behind it is just going to help you live your life a little bit better. And the average white person in this world doesn't have the struggles that we do. And so I think that they don't need this as much as we do. And so having something to believe in is important, and I don't think it's a bad thing for our community. I promote it, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But speaking of promoting, we should have a theme song for this part. But we're going to open a letter.
We're going to hit the record for most theme songs in one show.
Yes. No, there's other shows. I know some shows that have a lot of theme songs. I was just thinking that. Why don't you open up a letter for us?
Let's see.
One of you guys has written in, and we thank you. You can write in at Bantucentric on Twitter, or you can write in to bantucentric@gmail.com with your questions, with your comments. With your, if you want to send some hate mail, we'll read some hate mail. I wouldn't mind reading hate mail. Hey,
I would love hate mail.
Y'all are white people in disguise or something. I don't know, some hotep shit. Send it. I want to read it.
I would love hate mail.
Yeah.
Trying to decide. There's two names that intrigue me. One is of a person I don't like, so I don't know if I want to read that one. And then the other one is Algernon.
Well, then pick that one.
Okay. Sorry, I'm silly. Algernon97 wrote us, said, hey, just wanted to write in to tell you how much I love the podcast. Thank you. It's your brand of content we need in this community right now. But I have a few questions. Oop. First, who designed the logo? It's pretty cool. Second question, you guys share a lot of personal stories. Do you have a favorite anecdote you've told on the podcast? And how about which topic was most difficult to discuss? Oops, that was 2 questions. Haha.
Well, we're only answering
anyway, keep it up. You'll always have my support. Sincerely, Algernon97.
Oh, thank you.
Let's do the first question. Who designed the logo?
I did. I designed it. If you didn't notice, because you don't have eyes, the Bantucentric logo is the ImagineOnly Productions logo in black.
No way.
With a headband.
I've never seen that.
Saying it out loud, it sounds very unremarkable and sadly derivative. But I think looking at the logo, you see what I'm going for. It's brand recognition. It's a connection to one thing from another. But yeah, I designed the ImagineOnly Productions logo, and then I went and turned that into Bantucentric's logo.
Okay. Second, you guys share a lot of personal stories. Do we have a favorite anecdote that we've told on the podcast?
I know I have a favorite anecdote of yours. I really liked the Hungarian story.
God.
That was fun. That was a fun story. White Hungarian. It's one of our old Storytime episodes. I'm not sure what number, but search our back catalog and you can find it.
We've told so many stories. I always like when we get into like the relationship topics.
Yeah.
Anything relationshipy or like concerning sex at all is typically.
She's not Christian.
You know what? Do all things in love.
I think I definitely from time to time will go back and listen to the sample. It was a more recent episode, but I was talking about that girl that I met on the street, and she turned out that she was going in for high school.
Yeah.
Like, was it orientation? And I was just like, oh, like, okay, let me leave you alone. that was a fun.
My favorite thing of yours is still the crazy lady on the train that you tried to reason with.
You guys, I'm pretty sure all of our best segments are all in the samples. So please go back and look at our samples. I'm not sure how many of those are still available because I didn't re-upload all the samples when we made our transition. So if you guys are still available to see all the samples, also there's a lot of YouTube videos for some of these, so please go check out. Just check out our back catalog anyway, especially the Storytime episodes if you want to get those kind of anecdotes. Yeah.
And how about which topic was most difficult to discuss?
I think
the Wide Hungarian.
No, that was fun. I mean, for me, I didn't experience it, so it was probably most difficult to experience. I'm not trying to put my dick in your mouth.
Traumatic.
I think it was there was a period of time in which all of them were difficult because I was just dealing with shit in life. So there's that. But I do think you weren't there. There was an episode of Bantu Agenda with my mother, and she talked about the lynching museum, and that was very emotional. That was pretty difficult to listen to because it's just so intense, you know. But we keep things light, so a lot of these aren't too difficult to talk about.
God, you're gonna make mine sound childish. I should have gone first.
Well, what is it?
I would say, like, honestly, I'm a pretty open book when people ask me questions. If you don't ask me anything, I'll never speak. But so I haven't had too many difficult topics to discuss, but probably the most difficult time for me was after my breakup, when I first started talking about the breakup openly on the show. And especially when I started dating and I was, like, making little comparisons and, like, learning through learning about self-love and like taking care of myself first and things like that. That was probably difficult for me because I knew that I was putting like my business out there. I was like, oh God, people are gonna know I have feelings. Like, Cheyenne has a heart? What? Like, I'd say that was probably like the most difficult time for me on the show.
I didn't notice. You're a good actor.
Yes, I'm very skilled in hiding my emotions.
Yeah, I didn't notice that
I've been years in the making. My boyfriend didn't even know I liked him until he asked me out. It's like, do you like me? Like,
nah, nigga, nah. But yeah, I'd say, damn. Yeah, I didn't know. All right, that's good to know. Anything else?
Nope. Just thank you, Algernon, for all your support.
Yeah. Thank you for all that you do.
Yeah, thank you for being Bantu.
Even though you're not Bantu of the day, you're not.
Oh,
You're not.
Oh, wow, Jesus. Okay.
I mean,
he's very angry.
The reason why you're not is because, I mean, you might not be Bantu. Like, there are people that listen to our show that aren't Bantu. Like, that's not true. A crime. So, thank you for all you do.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, being human.
And I love your name because Algernon is a great book.
It's an okay book. It's a good book when you're a kid reading it in middle school class.
I read it for the first time. We literally
read it in the same middle school
Christmases
class.
ago.
No, you didn't.
I didn't read it in middle school.
Yeah, you did. We read it in 8th grade with that
They
black
might have
Jamaican
assigned
lady.
it in middle school. I'm telling you, I didn't read it.
I think we read it in class, like
I wasn't paying attention.
On tape or something.
I was not paying attention.
I think that was, you remember the Jamaican lady, right?
Yeah, I know the teacher. Teresa, I know the class. I promise you, I do not remember that book from middle school. Okay, fun fact. I love books, as you can see. But if you assign me reading material, I'm not reading it.
At all.
If you give it to me as homework, Cheyenne, I need you to read this and then tell me what you think of it.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. I'm not reading it. Or if you like, we're gonna read this in class. The only thing I've ever absorbed is Edgar Allan Poe. Okay. We went through a whole Edgar Allan Poe chapter in high school, and I loved it. That was the only thing I've ever absorbed. Anything else you make me read, I'm not absorbing it whatsoever. So yeah, we very well could have read Algernon in middle school.
I enjoyed it in middle school, but then I recently bought it and tried to reread it, and I can't read anything that's written as improper, like as a
I get that. That's why I can't
That's hard for
I can't
me.
read The Color Purple because of that reason.
I couldn't read Room. I love the movie Room, but the book Room is written from the child. So he's like, the big door is opening, and I think mommy said we need to, and boom boom needs, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not reading this fucking book.
The reason I can read Algernon is because it changes over time. If it was just that way the entire book, I couldn't do it. But because it you see him develop, that was what was so interesting for me.
True.
Watching the development through the way that he told his own story.
Interesting storytelling.
If it was just the same thing throughout the entire book, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that is interesting storytelling. It's like interactive. That's cool. I never thought of it. Like the
it's
way
like
that
a game.
the way that video games tell the same kind of stories in different ways. Like to have a book that's written as somebody that doesn't understand the language well until they do, and then they don't anymore. Like you
Spoiler
feel
alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert, but you feel their progression even though it's not in the text. Like you could say he became smarter and smarter, but to hear him say,
to actually go through it with him.
Yeah, that's cool. That was cool.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not gonna spoil it.
It's already spoiled. This book came out in 50 something? This book is very old, guys.
My heart.
Algernon is not the main character.
He's not, but he should be.
He's a rat. Like he shouldn't be. He could squeak, 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 squeak. I would read that book.
I would read that book. See, his squeaks get more intelligent.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of squeaks,
I mean the couch just squeaks.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening to Bantucentric. My name is Buck Rivers. You can find me at Mbaku Rivers on Instagram and on Twitter. You can find Bantucentric at Bantucentric. Please send us questions. Please send us comics. Yeah, send us comics. Yeah. Comment us. Also go on to iTunes and Spotify, wherever. Please like and review and share this with your friends. Like us on YouTube. Yeah, you can thumbs up on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button.
Smash that like button.
Because we're on YouTube now. But yeah, if you don't know and you've been listening to this, go to YouTube. You can watch us make all hand gestures and all that kind of shit. But yeah, also
facial expressions.
Exactly. Also, you can go to ImagineOnlyProductions.com, see upcoming projects and that sort of thing, as well as Bantucentric.com if you'd like to support us on Patreon or TeePublic, or just send a direct donation. You can find Cheyenne Finch at
Shy Productions. That's CHEY Productions on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find my work at CheyenneFinch.com.
Great. Unless there's anything else to be said.
Nope.
Then, as always, stay woke
and stay Bantu.
All right. See ya.
Bye. What?